Good afternoon, everybody. We got 27 hours, folks. That's right. It is 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturday. Tomorrow, Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's kickoff for the NFC Championship game, Eagles versus Commanders. Let's break it down.
Fasten your seatbelts for the realest Eagles and Sixers YouTuber! One who plays no clickbait and gets to the point! The myth, the legend, Nicky Steves! Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keeps things real. I'm simply statue, think and slate, dropping unrealistic mad 2K takes for the clip. Even though cats like that get views closer to the millie, never hear me preach, look on to Philly. Before you watch the Eagles all the way through the early 22, authentic talk, forget what others do. Come to my channel, you know the deal. Yo, boy, always keeps things real. The 24/7, 365 way. Sports content for the reals that feel the day.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is a great afternoon. Got little G Griffith here, and I know it's freezing outside, but it is a beautiful day in our heads, and that's all that matters. And we're one day away. That's right, folks. One day away from the conference championship game. It's going down. Philadelphia Eagles, 5th NFC championship game hosted at the Link versus their division rival Washington Commanders. And going into that game tomorrow, Eagles are minus 6-point favorites versus the Commanders, which I find interesting. 6-point favorites. I was actually surprised when I saw it because I understand why the Eagles are the favorites because it's at home and they've been to this stage before. Most of the current core was there 2 seasons ago when we made a run to the Super Bowl. Based off that, I understand why the odds are in our favor. People are thinking, hey, there's a good chance we could pull off another win and go off and go on to the Super Bowl one more time. That's certainly understandable. However, -6 is a bit odd considering the Commanders already upset the Detroit Lions last week. And this does, I have to admit, honestly, even though we're the favorites, even though we're at home, this could be a trap game. This could. Hear me out. Because last week, we saw Jaden Daniels in the biggest game of his career thus far played poised. He was in control. He didn't have any turnovers. And he shredded the Detroit Lions defense. Now, granted, Detroit Lions, they were dealing with some injuries as well, but Jaden Daniels played great in that. He did. Eagles are mostly healthy for the most part. And not to mention, on our side of the ball, there is a concern with Jalen Hurts as quarterback. Will he be able to hold up? And how will his knee fare? And remember last week when he was wearing a knee brace, we gave up 7 sacks. 7. And that is including a safety against the Rams, who had a good defensive line. And the Commanders, too, they have themselves a good line, too. They do. So I kind of got a feeling, hey, that that the Commanders could do some damage. They could get to us. Yeah, sure. We weren't the Rams necessarily, But guess what? That's what they're still pretty good themselves. So they were doing, so the Commanders themselves still did pretty solid. They were still, they themselves were still pretty solid. And then last week they only got 2 sacks, but still, they're in the regular season. They have a solid pass rush themselves too. With what is it, Payne, Fowler, and Allen are the threats on that D line. And considering the way the offensive line looked last week, that's a concern. Not to mention Cam Jurgens is questionable for this one. The center, that's another big factor. That's why I'm not too sold on the odds being -6 in favor of the Eagles. I mean, I understand, yeah, we've been in this predicament before, but is -6 really the best, really realistic because of the Commanders' potential to get to us in the pass rush? Because they did an excellent job last week. Is this really right? I mean, this could be a trap game, honestly. And even though, yeah, we've never had a rookie quarterback start in the Super Bowl, this could be the time as well. But that's all, But that's what makes it a tough challenge here. But we're not saying we can't win, but I'm saying I don't know about -6 though, because this could be this is one of those games that could go either way. Grega, thanks for stopping by. I hope you're having a great start to your Saturday. And now, with that being said, a lot of the people making their picks that are picking the Eagles, they're thinking it's going to be a close game. They're thinking like 27-24, 24-23, along those lines for most of the people picking us to win. Because this is going to be a close game. And that, like I said, this could be a trap game, but this could work out in our favor. And to me, I'm looking at this one. There's several X factors in this one, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. And the X factor for Washington, it's not Daniels, actually. It's not even Terry McLaurin. It's not the run game. You want to know who my X factor is for the Washington Commanders? Zach Ertz. Hear me out. Is he the number one option in that offense? No. But he can still be effective. And he's playing against the Philadelphia Eagles, a team he knows all good and well. The team that Zach Ertz is famous for making his career with. That's how he had developed his name. And that's how he became a respected veteran during his time with the Eagles. So he comes into this game for the Commanders knowing our team. He practiced with us for many years. He played many games in an Eagles uniform. And Zach Ertz, even throughout the season, he was pretty solid. He still had 66 receptions, 7 touchdowns. He was a key factor in the passing game, in the red zone. So Zach Ertz is still the X factor I'm going to watch out for in this one. And remember, he scored against us in the late first game at the Link. He scored, and he scored against us, I believe, the second game too. And even last week against the Lions, he still got a touchdown against them. So I'm still considering Zach Ertz the big X factor for Washington. That's right. Fly, Eagles, fly. And that's my X factor. We know McLaurin. We know Daniels. We know their defensive line. We know that, and not to mention their secondary too. Got to acknowledge Washington's secondary. They got 4 picks against Goff last week. So I wouldn't underestimate them at all. Now, granted, Hurts isn't the same. I do feel Hurts could do better, but with him being limited, possibly being limited with the knee, we don't know. And not to mention, I thought last week that there's no way the Rams defense was going to get to Hurts anywhere near what they did Sam Darnold. They got 9 against Darnold. They got 7 against Hurts. So I'm not going to make that dangerous assumption twice in a row about the Commanders secondary that they can't do something. They can. They got 4 picks last week. Don't get me wrong. They could get 1 or 2 on Hurts as well. Don't be surprised if that happens. So that's something we got to watch out for. Now, for the Eagles, my X factors here, it's actually not Saquon. It's not AJ. It's not Smitty. It's going to be first the health and ability of Jalen Hurts and Cam Jurgens. Jalen Hurts' knee. How's his knee going to fare? That's one of the X factors, as well as is Cam Jurgens going to play? Are you going to take Cam Jurgens, who's been with this team all season? Is he going to be unable to go? Or if he does go, will he be limited in the biggest game of the season, one game shy of the Super Bowl? Those are X factors, because if Hurts and or Jurgens are limited or Jurgens isn't available, that's going to have a significant effect on the offense. In there, Greg, I love it. We beat Purdy as a rookie. Now we're going to beat Daniels as well. I love the optimism. But to be fair, we got to be realistic. Daniels is a different breed of quarterback than Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy was a decent game manager with the right tools, and not to put an asterisk on that game, but we got to remember, Purdy didn't even play the full game. The odds of that happening here with Daniels are low. And Daniels is a different QB than Purdy. He's a much better all-around quarterback, more mobile, better passer as well. It's a lot different matchup than it was there. But we'll get more on that in a minute. And now, like I said, that's going to be the big X factor. And for Hurts' knee, it's an X factor because if he's less than 100%, that can affect his mobility. And if we got this Commanders D-line, which can get pressure, they could have a similar day to the Rams if Jalen Hurts holds on to the ball too long, if he's limited in the pocket. This might force the Eagles to adjust their game plan to get rid of the ball quickly, kind of similar to what they did with Pickett, where they switched the game plan up to suit his strengths. They might have to change the passing game a little bit along those lines if Hurts' knee is limited. So that's an X factor right there. The other X factor, Dallas Goedert. Because now Goddard is not the main weapon in the offense. However, when he does get looks, he could make those one or two big plays on crucial drives that could change the outcome of the game. Let's go back to week 3 against the Saints late in the game. Remember the touchdown? We went ahead and we ultimately held the lead. Dallas Goedert got us in position for that go-ahead run with a big play, put us right in the red zone, right on Saints territory. And last week he had a big play against the Rams as well. So Dallas Goedert could always make just that one play that could make a difference in crunch time. So he's my other X factor for this Eagles offense. Because there might come that time. If everything goes as expected, it's a close battle, late in the game, still anybody's game, that could be time for Goddard to step up and make a big play. That could be the difference between another Super Bowl appearance and falling short. For that reason right there, I consider Dallas Goedert the other X factor in this game. And then, obviously, now we all know that you could technically say the Eagles defense is an X factor and all that, but I'm going to get more into that in the position battles. I'm going to go over position battles and the key player matchups in just a minute. Just going to step aside just for 1 second. We'll be right back. Put some not copyright-free music in the background. You guys can enjoy that. And then when I come back, we'll talk about the key player and position battles. They're going to have an effect on the outcome of this game. We'll be right back in just one moment. I'm back, folks. Thanks for sticking with me during that quick break. Now, we already talked about the odds, gave my thoughts on it, talked about the X factors. Now, that's the segue into the key player and position battles. We're going to start off. First one, I kind of hinted at, but let's talk about the Eagles secondary versus the Commanders receivers. Folks, because in this one, we saw Terry McLaurin, we know, is the big red flag for this Eagles secondary. He's the guy that we got to watch out for because last week, because he's been the it factor for this offense throughout the playoffs. He was the it factor against the Lions last week. He had 5 huge receptions that played a role in this outcome. The outcome of that game. So he's definitely the one we got to watch out for. And then, of course, on the our side, we got Quinyon Mitchell, Darius Slay Jr. Probably Slay is going to be matched up against McLaurin. He's the veteran, but we could switch it up too between Mitchell and Slay throughout this matchup. But that's the key one right there. And you got to remember also, let's not forget Zach Ertz. Like I said, he's the X factor, remember? So we got to consider him as well, too. This Eagles team's got to be prepared to go against him as well because he knows, like I said, he knows this team. I pointed out how he could be the X factor. That's another big one right there. But this Eagles secondary's really got to step up against that team right there. Really, especially Terry McLaurin, because he's the main go-to guy on this one. And then the second one involving the secondary, it's probably the safeties we got to look out for against Ertz. It's the Cooper DeJean. We got to keep those guys' eye on Ertz. Because in the first, and I got some stats now. I just pulled them up to indicate how Zach Ertz has gone against us. We'll get back to McLaurin's stats against us in a second. Ertz, he had 6 receptions, 47 yards, and a touchdown the first matchup. He just had 1 catch, 12 yards the second matchup. But the first matchup, he was a factor against us, and he helped out that Commanders offense. Now, when it comes to McLaurin, all season, he's just been on fire. He had 82 catches, 1,906 yards, and 13 touchdowns. Now, let me take a look. We're going to pull up Terry McLaurin's stats real quickly, see how we get against the Eagles. To get an idea of his efficiency, see where we stand against them. Because I want to see. Let's see the Eagles, like last time. How did he do? Give me 1 second. I'm going to pull that up because this will give us an in. The last time he had 5 receptions, 60 yards, and a touchdown. First time, he only had 1 reception, 10 yards. So McLaurin, we kind of been good against McLaurin. But now in the conference championship game, it's most important that we shut that down. So it's more important. I mean, the thing is our secondary, we know how to keep McLaurin out of the passing game, but we really got to step up and do it now where it matters most. But that also leaves in Zach Ertz as another factor, as well as the other receivers. But either way, our secondary and our safeties, we got to watch out for that Commanders passing. And that's the big battle. The other big battle I kind of hinted at, this Eagles offensive line has to step up against the Commanders. We struggled against the Rams last week. We gave up 7 sacks, and that Rams defensive line helped keep them in the game. We're lucky we didn't turn the ball over because that could have potentially changed the outcome of the game. I mean, so we have to, our offensive line, Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, if he's playing, we got to watch out for these guys. Jordan Mailata, we got to watch out for these guys. Payne, Fowler, Jonathan Allen, all these guys are threats for the for the Commanders defensive line to get to the quarterback and make plays. Like I said, if Hurts is limited, he could be a sitting duck. So it's important that our offensive line steps up as well. That we stop their pass rush. Because if we don't, we could be giving up 7, 8 sacks again. And with Hurts' knee being limited, if he takes too many hits, we're at risk of losing him mid-game. So that's another reason it's important that we got to give our quarterback protection in this one. We got to be able to step up. If we got to double team or rotate against these guys, then do so. But we got to find ways to limit their pass rush. So that's another important position battle. The other one is Saquon Barkley versus the Commanders' run defense. Now, the Commanders don't have a great run defense. Let's talk about it. Last week against the Detroit Lions, they gave up 201 rushing yards. That was their main Achilles heel that allowed the Lions to keep it competitive throughout most of the game. And here we're dealing with Saquon Barkley, who's feasted all season long. He could have himself a great game. And that could be the key factor in this one to the Eagles winning on offense. It's going to be the main factor. So I'm confident that Saquon Barkley can dominate in this one. It's going to be an interesting. So we got to make sure Saquon Barkley's running the ball, doing what he has to. And I kind of hinted at it moments ago. So I'm going to keep this one brief. The other key matchup is Jalen Hurts versus that Commanders pass rush. I mainly talked about that during the offensive line versus the Commanders pass rush key battle, but we got to do something, man. Jalen Hurts, he's got to get rid of the ball a lot quicker than he did last week. He was holding on to the ball too long, and that played a factor in that game being one of those games that kept us anxious all the way to the end. This time around, got to get rid of that ball quicker, man. He's got to get rid of the ball quicker. Can't hold on to the ball as long as he did. So Jalen Hurts, yeah, you got to get rid of the ball quicker. Something we got to do. And that's going to be what. So that's the other one. The other one, the main battle is our wide receivers versus the Commanders secondary. Remember, they got 4 picks last week, so we know they're dangerous. They can cause turnovers. They can get turnovers. They did it. Got Greg Johns already dropping his score prediction here, 27-20 Eagles. Could possibly happen. I could see that. Thanks for sharing. I'll get to my score prediction in a second. So thanks for your score prediction. And shout out to Greg John, though. He's always been loyal to these streams. Always stopping by, giving his thoughts, dropping his score predictions, sharing his optimistic views going into games throughout the entire season, starting all the way back to week 1. So I got to give you a shout out for your consistent support for my live streams talking about the Birds throughout the season. So thanks for your support. Greatly appreciated. And then, like I was saying, it's the Eagles wide receivers versus the Commander. AJ, Smitty, they're the main 2 guys. Maybe we could get Jahan Dotson incorporated a little bit since this is his former team and he knows that team. But mainly, hey, if AJ Smitty do what they've been doing all season long, this could be a good, that gives us the best chance. So we have to be able to do that. So AJ, but yeah, AJ Brown's got to be able to got to go to AJ Brown first, and Devontae Smith, he plays a key factor in this one as well. But yeah, that's got the wide receiver matchup's the other key one. But now, going to switch gears to the final part before we get to score predictions, keys to victory. So I'm going to tie that into what I just talked about with the position mouse. Let's do it. Keys to victory. First one, no turnovers and limit sacks. Last week, I reiterate briefly what I said a moment ago. Last week, the sacks. Sean said, will you guys be live during the game tomorrow? I won't be live during the game. I'm sure there'll be creators on the Hardcore Sports Network that will be live. I'm sure Cool Cat Connor, a few others, they'll be going live during the game. I'll likely go live after the game, give my thoughts. That'll probably be sometime around 8:30, 7, depending on what time the game's over, likely, or sometime Monday morning. We'll see though, but I'm not going live during the game. but probably after the game, sometime late Sunday, early Monday. And we got Greg John drop his key to victory, play good D, no turnovers, and run the ball. And like I said, yep, no turnovers. Then that ties me into my second one. Run the ball efficiently. We talked about it. Saquon is the most, versus the Commanders' run defense, is the most favorable matchup. Take advantage of it. Let Saquon Barkley do what he's been doing all season. That'll be the key factor in us winning this game. It was last week when Hurts was taking a bunch of sacks. But Saquon steps up, avoids the turnovers. That works in our favor. And then now the next key in this one is we got to limit the sacks, obviously. And then another one, the defense has to be able to step up. We got to try to get at least 1 or 2 turnovers, limit their passing game, do something to keep them from scoring. We can't let them run up the score on us like they did against the Lions, scoring over 40 points. We got to get some turnovers. The Lions couldn't get any turnovers, and we saw how that cost them. So in addition to not turning the ball over, we got to get at least 1 or 2, whether it be a fumble, interception, something. But those are my keys to victory. If you guys want to add any keys to victory, I know Greg added his. If anyone else wants to add their keys to victory, feel free to do so. So now for score predictions. I'm going to go us winning this one 28-27. It's going to be a close game either way. Could come right down to the wire. And there's one more point I want you to bring up. Jake Elliott needs to make his extra points in this one. I know he's kind of struggled all season, but he's got to be able to do so in this one. He's got to be able to make those PATs because it's important that we get all the points we can in this matchup. So Jake Elliott, we need you to make your PATs in this one, buddy. So that being said, I said everything I was going to say. We just got to wait and see how this game plays out tomorrow. I'll come back, like I said, either late tomorrow, early Monday, give my thoughts on it. Got to wait and see what happens. Whatever happens, win or lose, we're going to stay loyal to the Birds. We're going to follow up and talk about it. Got to see what happens. Let's hope we get this dub, get back to the Super Bowl. Let's bring that second Super Bowl trophy home. I don't care if it's Kansas City or Buffalo. All I want is us to win. Bring on the winner of the AFC game, and we set to go for the Super Bowl, baby. I might catch some of the game. I don't know. Probably I'll catch it at home most likely. So probably be joining in with some of the live chats, watching some of it at home. It's most likely what I'm doing. So with that being said, guys, thanks for your support. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Until next time, it's your boy Nicky Stees signing off. Fly, Eagles, fly, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.